What's up, Achievers? Lauren Pack here, and today we're talking all about pull-ups. So more and more often, people are coming into the gym with a goal of being able to do a pull-up, and it's awesome. It's such an empowering feeling to be able to pull yourself up over a bar. And so today I want to talk to you about two things. Number one is how to work toward getting your first pull-up, and number two is how to implement strategies and tips and tricks to maximize your potential in order to help you get more pull-ups or even progress to things like weighted pull-ups down the road. So let's start with how to attain your first pull-up. What you should start to work on if getting one pull-up or eventually multiple pull-ups is your goal. So number one is getting comfortable hanging from the bar. A lot of people think they have to start right away with doing different assisted pull-up variations, but we actually think that the best thing to start doing is hanging from the bar and doing this in a passive fashion. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna get into the grip that you're most comfortable with, and you're just simply going to step off of a box or step off whatever ledge you're on and hang. And just see how long you can hang there. And you're gonna think about squeezing the bar really tight with your hands, really gripping, and just allowing yourself to get comfortable in this hanging position. Once you're comfortable and can hang for about 30 seconds without feeling like you're shaking or you're overly engaging anything, then we can start to move on to a more active hang. So with an active hang, the first thing we want to think about is getting your shoulders down away from your ears. And what that's going to do is it's going to engage your lats, those muscles on the sides that run down the sides of your back. And those muscles are going to really come into play when you're starting to do pull-ups. So it's a great idea to start figuring out where they are by lowering those shoulders during your hang. The second part of this active hang is engaging your core a little bit more. So what we're going to do is we're going to think about, once we get our shoulders down into position, you're going to think about bringing your rib cage and your pelvis toward each other slightly. And this is going to get you into a more hollow body position. And I'm going to talk later about how that hollow body position really helps you in your pull-ups. But for now, with the active hang, all I want you to think about is getting your shoulders down away from your ears and getting your rib cage and your pelvis connected a little bit better. Now that you've gotten more comfortable hanging from the bar and you've started to incorporate some lats and some abs into these hangs, then we can move on to assisted variations, so assisted pull-ups. And there are really two ways that we like to do assisted pull-ups. One is using your legs as assistance, and the second one is using a band as assistance. So a lot of times you might see at the gym a assisted pull-up machine where you kneel on a little platform and you put how much weight you want it to take off of your body, and then you perform your pull-ups that way. And we really don't love that as a way to work toward your first pull-up, because what happens is the difficulty doesn't change as you get closer to the top. And in real life with a pull-up, it gets harder and harder as you get closer and closer to the top. So a band or using your legs helps you to really mimic that a lot better than those machines. So to do a leg assisted pull-up, you're gonna need a really high box, or you're gonna need a really low bar. Either way, you wanna set yourself up so that when you're in this kind of squatting position, your arms are all the way overhead. And then as you're starting to pull your body up over the bar, you can use your legs to start standing up in order to help you do so. Now with this variation, you're contributing as much as you need to from your legs. So you're trying as much as you can to use your arms for the majority of the lift, and you're only utilizing your legs when you feel like you're stuck or when you feel like you need a little bit of a boost. The hard part about this variation is that it could be a little bit tough to see your progress. You could be a little bit less sure about if last week you use your legs more versus this week you use them less. It's a little bit less clear than when we use a band. So now I want to talk about band assistance and how you can use that as well. So for band assisted pull-ups, we recommend having 4 to 5 different sizes of bands, starting with one that's maybe 1 3/4 of an inch, going down to a 1.5 inch, and then a 3/4 of an inch, then a 1/2 inch band, something like that, where it progressively gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Now the thicker the band, the more assistance that you'll get on the way up. The thinner the band, the less assistance that you'll get. So what we recommend doing is stepping one foot in the band and straightening out that leg, then bringing your other leg out right next to it. So both legs are down straight. From there, you're gonna pull yourself up, trying not to use any momentum, just using your arms and letting that band help you on the way up. And what we recommend doing here is getting to the point where you can do 3 solid sets of 6 to 8 reps at the band that you're working on. So maybe you start out with a band where you can do about 3 sets of 5. And you stay with that band until you start to feel some progress, until you start to get 3 sets of 6 and then 3 sets of 7. By the time you can do 3 sets of 8, then you're really ready to move on to the thinner band. So you'll go 1 band thinner than the one that you've been using. And you may regress a little bit in your reps. You may start back up at 3 sets of 5, and that's okay. From there, you work your way back up to 3 sets of 6 and 3 sets of 7. You get the point. So eventually you get to the point where you're on the thinnest band doing 3 sets of 6 to 8 reps. Once you're there and you've been able to do that with about a 1/2 inch band, we recommend trying out your first pull-up. Most likely you'll be able to do it. Now, as you're working on these pull-ups, there are really 3 different main grips that you can use, and they all have different benefits. So the most common grip is probably the overhand grip, where your palms are facing away from you. And with this one, you get a lot more back engagement, as opposed to when you flip the hands and you do more of a chin-up grip, where your palms are facing you, you get a lot more bicep engagement. They're both good variations, and we recommend trying both out and seeing which one feels a little bit more comfortable to you. The grip that we actually prefer for most of our members is a neutral grip, and that's where your palms are facing each other. And a lot of pull-up bars now have that neutral grip. And we really like it because it puts your shoulders in a really good, comfortable position. It tends to be the best balance of both worlds between the overhand grip and the underhand grip. All right, so as you're working toward your first pull-up, or if you're somebody who already can do a few pull-ups but are looking to increase your volume or maybe even add weight in the future, I wanna go over some tips and tricks and techniques to help you get there. So the first tip, and probably my favorite one, is to think about driving your elbows down as you're pulling yourself up. And this is the opposite of what a lot of people think about. With a pull-up, people usually think about the up part of the pull-up, and so they might end up shrugging up or yanking on the bar to try to get themselves over the bar. But what actually really helps is if you start from a dead hang and you think about driving your elbows toward the floor. That's really going to engage your lats, and it's really going to help make for a very smooth start to that pull-up and a smooth finish at the top. Tip number 2 is to keep your eyes looking straight ahead. So a lot of times people look up at the bar as they're pulling themselves up, and this actually throws you off a little bit because it gets you further away from the bar, and that makes it a lot harder for you to pull yourself up. So looking straight ahead is going to keep you in a more vertical path, and it's going to be a much more efficient way to perform your pull-ups. And tip number 3 is to avoid using momentum. So you've probably seen it before where people kick their legs, kip their bodies, and try to use as much momentum as they can to help them get over the bar. And while in the moment of that single rep or those 2 reps that you might be performing, it feels like that's helping you, in the long run, it's really hindering you from building strength and from being able to progress down the road. If you find that you need to use that momentum in order to get yourself over the bar, we recommend going back to some of those assistance exercises, the leg assisted pull-up or the band assisted pull-up. Getting stronger and not needing to use that momentum is not only going to help you to progress down the road, but it's also going to keep your shoulders and your lower back in a much safer position. And now earlier on when we were talking about the active hang, I mentioned this hollow body position. And now this is a really important position to be able to maintain and to be able to get into if you want to progress your pull-ups down the road. So being able to maintain a hollow body position basically means that you're able to connect your rib cage and your pelvis and really get tight throughout your core. And when it comes to pull-ups, not only do we want to be able to make that connection, but we want to do it with your arms overhead, since that's what you're going to be doing in the pull-up. So a really good drill to work on throughout your pull-up journey is hollow hold variations with your arms overhead. So laying on your back, bringing your arms overhead, and then connecting your rib cage to your pelvis by bringing your feet off the ground and pushing your lower back down into the floor is going to be step 1. Now, where you put your legs is going to depend on where you're at, how strong you are right now in that hollow body position. So if you haven't done this drill before, I'd recommend starting with both knees tucked. That's going to be the easiest way to maintain this position. So arms overhead, rib cage and pelvis connected, lower back pressing into the floor, and both knees tucked in. Now, as you start to get more comfortable with that, you can start to extend one leg out. So keep one knee in and one leg out. And that's gonna increase the challenge a little bit, but still meet you where you're at. And then eventually we wanna go into that full body hollow position. So both legs out straight, both arms overhead. This is really gonna mimic the position that you wanna be able to maintain as you're going through a set of pull-ups. Being able to maintain this hollow body position is gonna really help you have more control throughout your pull-ups, and it's also gonna really help when you wanna progress to things like weighted pull-ups or maybe even muscle-ups in the future. So I really hope that these tips helped you out, whether you're just starting out and you wanna get your first pull-up, or if you've been doing pull-ups for a while but you wanna increase your reps. I think there's a little bit in here for all of you. If you enjoyed this video, hit that little thumbs up button below, and until next time, peace, love, and muscles.